Hi, I'm Martin McGrath from Financial Edge Group. We specialise in helping people get themselves set up for retirement and figure out all things in regards to their finances. Today I want to talk to you about how to manage your debt during volatile times or unknown times. The world we're living in at the moment, COVID, who knows what's going on, when it's going to finish. That gives a lot of uncertainty around things. So we want to try and get some certainty in areas where we can. Debt is a big thing that hangs over our head, whether it's your home loan, whether it's credit card, whether it's car loan, whether it's investment property debt. We want to make sure we've got that stuff sorted. And I want to try and give you my top 3 tips for how I recommend you make sure you take control of that. So point number 1 is understand your repayments. I know it sounds boring, but sit down, figure out what your debt is, figure out what your repayments are at the moment. Also importantly, figure out what your minimum repayments are. What could you reduce them to if you needed to? Depending on your situation, maybe now's the time to do that. Reduce them down. That might free up a few $100s a week that either you can now live off and survive, or if you don't need it, at least start stockpiling that in case there's some unknown or uncertainty coming up. At least you'll know you've got a little nest egg, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 that you'll have to protect yourself or to protect and manage this debt. The banks are being pretty generous in trying to play ball to make sure everyone's under control, but it's important you take control as best you can to have a plan around that. Using that stockpile of cash is effectively tip number 2, and ideally adding to it. If you know you've got some money in a redraw, in an offset, in some other savings, it's important to know how much you've got. Does that buy you how much time in terms of your repayments? Have you got enough there for 1 month or 3 months or 6 months worth of repayments if you had no other money coming in? So now you know what your minimum repayments are. Might be $700 a week. Okay, I've got $7,000. Cool, I've got 10 weeks set aside that if I had no other money coming in, I can pay that loan for 10 weeks. There's no magic number of how much we want to or need to have. The more the better is a simple answer, but at least you'll have some confidence to know how much time you've got up your sleeve, so to speak, and how you can easily manage that debt. Hopefully that makes sense. Point number 3 is if we want some certainty, particularly around home loans or investment loans, now might not be a bad time to fix. There's some pros and cons with fixing loans, but one of the big pros is you get yourself some certainty. You know what your repayments are going to be for the next 1 or 2 or 3 years, depending how long you fix it for. You know what your repayments are going to be. They're not going to go up, they're not going to go down, they're fixed in at that rate. Now, if interest rates go down, you might be disadvantaged. If interest rates go up, you'll win. The other kind of main disadvantage you can't often in fixed loans, pay some big chunks off it. But if you've got uncertainty, all that kind of stuff, that's probably not part of your plans anyway. So it might be time to look at fixing that to just give you some certainty around what your repayments are going to be. They're not going to change. At least you'll know. So going back to my first tip, you'll know what your repayment is going to be for this next set period of time. So they're my top 2 tips. Understand your repayments, stockpile some cash, consider fixing or locking in some of those repayment rates to help you manage your debt in these uncertain times. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. More than happy to have a chat at no cost to see if I can help.